and be fully present.
There we go. So it's recording now. So in terms of let me get this open here. In terms of the Akashic reading, so the first thing we're looking at is soul profile information. We're looking at the soul vibration rate, which changes over the lifetime based on your current state of consciousness, your self-awareness, and your embodiment of your divinity. And basically, the last time I think you were hovering within the same zone, and you're still within that zone, but you've kind of moved the needle a little bit in that direction of embodiment. So basically you're still within that same wheelhouse, but it's just, you were basically condensing is the word that that's coming to mind, condensing your divinity into the physical body. So when we think of ascension, we think of getting higher, but really what we're trying to do is actually bring the higher down here and then express it and embody it. So really we're descending is what we're trying to do, because by descending we ascend, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So this point of your experience is kind of like the final stage, I would say. And it's not that this is like the only thing, but this, in terms of how we measure soul vibration rate, I haven't seen anybody get higher than that yet, right? I don't know if I ever will, but basically this point that you're at right now is the embodiment process. So it takes practice, daily awareness of, does this choice align with me? Does it not? What does it feel like in my body? Am I feeling? Am I trusting? Am I flowing? Am I allowing? Am I surrendering? Am I having compassion? Am I consciously and intentionally manifesting with awareness? Am I reading the feedback based on the people I'm interacting with, the types of situations I'm experiencing, the thoughts I'm having, all of those different things? That's what embodiment looks like. And trusting what feels right for you, because your unique divine soul blueprint is different than everyone else's. So this phase is, I would say, finite and infinite, in that it's a process and it's a daily practice, but at the same time, this could go on exponentially. We don't know, because at this point, it may not even be beneficial to you to get to that next level, because that would be, I think, I'm theorizing here, but I think the next level, since I've never seen it, is probably, like you've transcended the physical and you are embodied, but at the same time, you have no need for external validation or external anything. You're basically just aware that you're a divine being in this body. And at that point, would you even come forward for a reading? No, probably not, because you wouldn't need it.
Right. Yeah, totally.
So this is the type of thing where it's like, am I ever going to see it? Probably not, because people aren't going to come forward for one. So even if there are people out there who are embodied at that level, I wouldn't know it, because I'm not working with them directly. They don't need to do this kind of work, because they're already at that point where they don't need external anything. So that being said, this point of embodiment, this point of integrating the divine soul blueprint into your everyday life, like I said, this can go on as long as it needs to. This could go on for the rest of this incarnation, and then it resets when you reincarnate. Or this could be a sort of walk up or a stepping stone to that full level embodiment. Just depends on what your soul is needing in this lifetime. But yeah, that's basically where you're at there. So a little bit of an increase. And then when it comes to spheres of protection, the spheres of protection, just to jog your memory, are those energetic resources that we build up and use as a buffer to keep us in alignment. So we receive vital force energy when we make positive choices. We retain some of that for later. And then if we make a choice that's out of alignment with our unique divine soul blueprint, i.e. a negative choice, it will detract from those spheres of protection rather than from our personal vital force energy. So it protects us from the deficits of the damage that could occur from that. So it's good to have them, and they carry over into your next life as well. So it gives you a buffer in the beginning stages of the next reincarnation. So you, at the last check-in that we did, you had 1.3, so just under 1.5 spheres. Now you have 2.2. So that's a really good increase. That's what we like to see, is that it's almost, doubled. So you've gone up 1.1 spheres, which means that basically on a daily basis, you're embodying more of your divinity, which is also implicated here by the soul vibration rate, but also that you're retaining that energy. So you're not making a positive choice and then making a negative choice and kind of equaling it out. So you're consistently working on embodying those aligned choices and getting to know what that feels like, and then having that upward trajectory or that upward swing from that. Also doing any kind of healing work will give you spheres of protection usually as well, because Reiki, Akashics, quantum healing, all of those different aspects, even EFT tapping or any kind of processing for your emotions, that too will give you an influx of vital force energy. So it's not just from doing soul realignment work, it's really anything that gives you that connection to yourself, basically. Because you are the energy, right? You are the vital force energy. You are also the one receiving it. You're the one creating it. It's all you. So the closer you get to yourself, the more you'll have of that. And that's what we're seeing here. So that's good. That means that on paper, we can see and measure that your choices have been consistently, for the most part, in alignment with who you are and what you need. So that's good. That's really good. And that gives you more energy to work with too. So it helps to kind of get that snowball effect going, where you can then continue to rise. And then lastly, in the soul profile, there is the manifestation power. So last time you had increased by a power of 4. The time before that, when you first started, you didn't have any of the higher level manifestation power yet. You were still in the beginning stages of working with kind of just learning to be responsible with your awareness, with your intention, with how you manifest. And then the second session we did, you were into the full-on sort of high power zone. And then from there, it's infinite. You can go up infinitely from there. So there's really no limit to the amount of manifestation power that you can have. And I've seen crazy off the charts ones where it's like, okay, I need to figure out what is your life actually like, because this on paper is, I've never seen. And so I ask, and they're like, yeah, everything that I think, I create it. Everything that I want, I see manifest, down to the gender and like type of children, to the job, to the where you live, to the type of partner. Like literally everything was boom, 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 boom. So that can happen for anyone.
I believe it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've worked with a couple of clients that are like that, and there's reasons for that, which I won't go into, but yeah, the kind of place that you're at right now is you're by powers of 4, which is interesting. By the power of 4, you increased the first time. By the power of 4, you've increased this time as well. So you're taking it up by increments of 4 is what it seems like. And that could be an arbitrary number. It could just be random. But I just wanted to take note of that because I find that the number 4 is a very powerful number.
Yeah.
Bringing stability, protection, and foundations, right? Because it's like you're setting the foundations for something to build upon. So it makes sense. So you're at 8 right now, and the power of 8 is basically where you are really sort of increasing the level or the frequency at which you're manifesting. So the time between the thought, the emotion, the intention, the action, and then the result of that are starting to get closer together. So you do want to be mindful of what you're thinking, what you're doing, why you're doing it, why you're thinking it. Is it helpful? Is it aligned with what your intentions actually are? Because a lot of the times we can manifest unconsciously and not realize that, oh, actually that doesn't align with my why or my what, or with who I am and what I need. So being, again, just hyper aware of these things is what it can help you to hone in on really creating positive results with these manifestation abilities, because they are neutral. the manifestation power itself doesn't care if you manifest something that you don't like or that you do like. It's up to you to kind of determine what it is that you are investing in energetically. So good amount of responsibility here. Basically, if you're increasing to this degree, it means that A, you're being intentional. B, you are being aware, you're being mindful of the feedback, and you're also being responsible, which is, with great power comes great responsibility. I watched the new Spider-Man multiverse movie last night, and that's like one of my favorite lines from all of this, from Spider-Man, originally from the comic books. But yeah, with great power comes great responsibility, because we do need to be more aware, more intentional, more embodied, more in tune, and listening, watching, perceiving always.
That's been my practice. That was one of the things that my aunt was, one of the tools she gave me. She was like, one of the mindfulness practices that she does is like, when you, if it's not a yes all the way across the board with the thought, the word, and the action, then it's not going to align. And so when you think about it and you're like, you get presented with something and you think about it and you're like, I really don't want to, but then you say yes, and then you go and you do it, there's going to be a discord there or a misalignment there because it didn't line up all the way through. Exactly. And so I'm very aware, and I notice those things, and I still am aware of when I'm making the choices in the moments that are disempowering, but it's like, I still notice those things and I still make the changes. But when I'm in the practice now of when I don't necessarily make that change right away, and I go make the choice of a disempowerment or a misalignment frequency, I'm releasing the judgment around it and making it neutral. So if I can, that's been my practice lately, is really detaching and being in that observatory neutral place. That way I can flow more, because the second I anchor into it or I claim it, then I anchor that into my body, and then I can feel the density when it's not aligned. And so then I'm super aware, okay, let me backtrack. Where did I go and dip? Even if it's just a little bit. And that's really helped me to flow a lot easier with things.
That makes a lot of sense. And I like that you've described it in that way, because I think that that's a really practical way of looking at this, is does it flow all the way through? I love that. And that makes a lot of sense in terms of the soul vibration rate as well, because that's exactly where you're at, is the practice of embodiment, which means holding compassion when that doesn't match up to the alignment that you're seeking. So because to judge yourself would create more misalignment. So
exactly, it's going to dip even lower. So I'm like, no, I need to at least ride this wave right here.
Because that can be like a little tricky, self-perpetuating shame spiral and things like that. And it's like, no, we're meant to not do everything perfectly. We're meant to do those things misaligned. We're meant to do negative choices sometimes, because it's important that we learn what that feels like and what that experience is, and then we go from there. So it's just about having compassion. And you nailed it, and I love that, because that's what the numbers are saying. But I love it when I can hear it directly from you. How is this showing up? How are you working with it? That kind of thing. So that's really, really good. So then lastly, the blocks and restrictions, there's not too much here. Just two things. Actually, there's separate negative thought forms. So you've got two, and they're not in the same pattern. They are individual.
Interesting.
And so, it's not too much, but it's still taking up about 22% of your mental energy. Which is so that I would say, what is that, like 11% each, which is actually quite a lot. But thought forms are, they can take up a lot of energy because our thoughts become things. And then the emotional energy is only 3%. So that's good. It's quite low. You're not using a whole lot of emotional energy towards this. But
that's
still,
that neutralization energy I've been practicing.
Exactly. So it's working, because otherwise this would have been higher, right? We would have maybe seen like 10 or 12%, but it's only 3. So it's like, it's negligible. So what you have here is First, I'm going to start with in chronological order because these are from the past. These are from like not past lives, they're present life issues, but they're from when you were younger. So the first one is from around the age of 13 years old. So this is one that's been there for a long time, and it's finally ready to come up to be released. So it means that you've been putting some work into this consciously or unconsciously. So it's now ready to be cleared fully. This is a negative thought form, and negative thought forms basically are when we invest a lot of energy into a thought because we've internalized it to some degree, we believe it to some degree, we resonate with it to some degree, and by feeding it energy, we attract more of it. So this negative thought form is holding the energetic signature of doubt. So I want to ask you, when you were around the age of 13, was there something that you experienced that you doubted?
I mean, I had a lot going on or I'd been through a lot by the age of 13. It's interesting that you say that though, because I had a dream about my grandfather a few like days ago.
Mhm.
And in the dream, like my body was like the age that I am now, but like the perception and the eyes that I was seeing through in my dream was like as if I was at that age of 13.
Oh, wow.
And it was really interesting because I was having the conversation with my grandpa, and we were just talking, and we were talking about my uncle that had passed away. And I remember like crawling up in the chair and like laying on his chest and talking to him and hugging him, and then us crying together. And I woke up out of the dream crying. But I remember it was such a surreal feeling because there was so much that I think I questioned or I doubted because like nobody ever really, there was so much around my family and feelings and emotions that people just didn't really like talk about.
Mm.
And so it really wasn't something that I felt like I had a lot of like space that was held for me to be able to process. And so I think there was a big part of me that like shoved a lot of my feelings down or doubted my feelings or doubted myself on how I should be feeling around X, Y, or Z. Because at the same time that I was going through that with, my uncle and everything, my dad, who has always been in and out of the picture, and an alcoholic, that was around the same time that we kind of had, I wouldn't say a big blow up, but it was definitely an awareness of, I'm starting to see you in a different light. And so it created, I think, a lot of like worry and doubt within myself about my, I guess probably like my worthiness or my need or my feeling of feeling loved because my dad wasn't there. I think at that time, my boyfriend at the time I say cheating, flirting, like what is cheating really at that age when they're just like talking and hanging out with another person. But it was just like I took things so like to heart, and I was so sensitive, and I think there was a lot of me doubting myself throughout all of that because there was so much that I knew that it was almost like, and I told this to my aunt the other day, I said I feel like sometimes I have so much guilt and shame around like being too much.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so there was a big part of me that I think I've really had to work with that because there's a lot of me that doubts myself and, am I enough? And all of those things that came with my dad not being there, the boyfriends not, treating me how I felt like I want to be treated. And then my family not, you know, me being too much for my family, that I needed to hold my emotional well down and within myself. And I couldn't freely express myself without feeling like that wasn't the right thing to do.
So then what I want to ask is, how have things changed since then?
So since then, I mean, I've definitely gotten a lot better at knowing who I am and not personalizing things so much and making things my issue or my insecurities.
Mhm.
And when I do have the doubt that comes up, I can typically be the observer, pull out and ask myself, where is this coming from? And since, I mean, sometimes it works and sometimes I stay in the emotion of it or the feeling of it and write it out. But when I am able to pull myself out of it and see myself as a divine being, I'm able to look at it as, okay, this is an experience that I had that's in my field, but I never got a chance to hold that space for myself. So let me go ahead and do that now so that I can be in that moment and start to dissolve and dissipate that density around that experience, therefore lifting it up or at least neutralizing it.
It's funny that you say, I heard the word neutralize in my head, and I was like, I know she's going to say neutralize. Neutralize it.
Because that's what it's been feeling. It's like these little things, and it doesn't all come up at once, as you know. I mean, it's very like comes when it's ready, you know, in waves. But I mean, it's been obviously it's not the most comfortable thing, but it's been it's been navigatable. It's been easier in the sense of I've got the wherewithal, the knowing, and the tools to be able to help myself in those moments and just show up for myself in those moments. Whereas before, I couldn't even hold space for myself because, for one, I didn't feel safe, but for two, I didn't know how to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think that you've nailed it right on the head there in terms of why this is ready to be cleared right now, because this doubt is no longer something that you resonate with at that level. You're neutralizing it by bringing it to your awareness, by honoring the fact that that doubt was there because you didn't have the tools or the awareness or the sense of safety that you needed at the time to be able to have that security. Because what is the opposite of doubt? Trust or safety, right? Sureness. And so because you didn't have that, you resonated with that thought, but now you've changed those things for yourself. You've worked with that energy, with that self-knowing, and you've come to neutralize some of these things that don't resonate anymore. So that's beautiful. So that's that one. And then the second one is from 34 years old. So this one's more recent. And this is a negative thought form holding the energetic signature of isolation.
Yeah, I don't I guess it could toggle back and forth between some of those past feelings too, because there's some times that I self-isolate so that I don't have to impose on people.
Okay.
And I think I project that out sometimes a little bit more, or try to handle it all myself because I know that other people have their own shit going on, you know. So, and I think to some degree, I feel like I think it comes up again with the muchness of how I feel like I'm so much that I know that the people that unconditionally love me will be able to handle me, but I think sometimes I have the doubt that people are not going to understand me because I have such a depth to me that I feel like it's sometimes it's hard to communicate or express what I'm going through because I don't feel like people are going to get it or at least meet me where I'm at. And so I pull back and don't share that with a lot of people. I haven't recently. I have fluctuated and gone through the wave process because I do have, do you know Paul Selig's book, I Am Word?
No.
So there's there's a book series that he has, and it's basically, you know, talking about the word and how, what is it? In the beginning, there was the word, and the word was God. So
Oh, mhm.
basically, the book, I Am Word, the series, he's got about, I think it's like 9 or 10 books now. But he's basically speaking about how we are like releasing the judgments and really recognizing in ourselves as the divine, creator manifested in form.
Mhm.
And so my aunt, she's actually had this book club that she's reads this series. And so I'm in that book club, and she's been doing it for about 8 or 9 years now. And she invited me into it a little over a year ago. And we read every week, and but it's like a 2-hour group. And so we'll like, hey, how's your week? We'll like do a check-in, and then we'll ask, what tools did you use this week, or if you didn't, like what you're going through. And so I've had that support and that group to lean on, where they do meet me at that level of awareness and understanding, and like just the lingo of like how I speak and talk, and vibration and things like
Mhm.
that, the words that I use. And so that space has felt comfortable. But I think there's that little bit of, you know, tinge of energetic, remnants of that old history that I keep reactivating when I don't allow myself to just let it all go. It's almost like I there's that little hint of, there's sometimes I'll feel safe, but then there's this part of me that kind of pulls back of not feeling safe
Mhm.
because of that doubt. So that's like, that's where I go and toggle back and forth through sometimes. But I think that again, it all goes back to this like worthiness thing. Because I felt like if
Yeah,
I felt like I was safe and secure enough to just be who I was, then it wouldn't really matter who was holding space for me or whatever, because I would just be as I am and let the chips fall where they may.
exactly. I was going to say, do you feel that you deserve to take up space?
And I think there's days that I do, and then there's days that I don't.
And
And I think that's the
that's
practice
okay.
that I'm in. Yeah.
That's okay, because yes, those your needs for safety will vary by the day, by how you're feeling, by what you're internally experiencing, by what's going on outside of you. And that mechanism of isolation sounds like a safety mechanism, right? That's a self-protective thing that you're doing unconsciously to try and protect yourself. Now you've brought it to your consciousness, so it's no longer unconscious. You
Yeah.
can recognize when that happens. And then when that isolation mechanism kicks in, you can go, oh, you know what? I'm not feeling that safe right now. Either it's within this group or this setting or just within myself. And so you can, again, like you said before, hold space for that and have compassion for the fact that this is a part of you. This isolation aspect is just trying to keep you safe. And by creating that safety, then you can heal. Let me reword that, because for some reason the word heal was wrong, the wrong word. It didn't resonate. That's interesting. So that you can love the parts of yourself that have felt unworthy.
Which will then integrate into the wholeness.
Yes, exactly. So just the fact, again, these thought forms, these karmic patterns would not be arising if you weren't already doing the work towards shifting these and clearing them. And they wouldn't be here today if you weren't ready to neutralize. Again, that word neutralize is coming up. So it doesn't hold a charge anymore. If you
Yeah.
neutralize it, it's neutral. You just look at it and go, oh, okay, yeah, well.
Yeah, I've been doing like anytime that's another practice I've been doing, is like anytime I find myself in judgment instead of discernment, I immediately shift it into, oh, that's interesting. Because interesting is neutral, right? So
Yes,
even
I
if I'm
love
like
that.
about to go judge this person's like kilt that they're wearing, I'm like, no, that's just interesting. Like step out the history, Savannah. Like, let's just neutralize this right now.
I love that. I love that because I haven't had that word come up elsewhere. And it was the first thing that I thought, that it was the word that popped in, right? So it's channeled. And And then the way that you're going about it, I love it, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're neutralizing the charge that's out of alignment with all of these different aspects, and just approaching it from that awareness and getting curious or getting interested is a way of understanding, which is accepting, which is no longer judging, which is exactly what you were saying there. So I love it. Perfect. So this negative thought form of isolation from around the age of 34 is ready to be cleared, as well as this negative thought form of doubt. Now, when it comes to negative thought forms, you don't actually have to do the clearing homework, the 21 days, because the thought forms are a little different. It's not like a program or a contract or an agreement or anything like that. It's just a thought form. They are as easy to clear as this.
Got it. Okay.
Like basically
Hey,
just
that's good for me. I mean, I'm good with that.
because when you have awareness that the thought form was there, and the fact that it's coming up, you've already neutralized a lot of it. So the last little bit of it is just that awareness that you've gained right now. It neutralizes it entirely. So that thought form, as of right now, they're not really there anymore. Of course, if you continue to, if that charge comes back and then you refeed, of course they can, again, become a thing again, but it's not an issue to worry about. Thought forms are one of the easiest things to clear, because you're the one giving them energy, and as soon as you stop, they don't exist. So it's really just about that self-awareness and being mindful of what that feeling is coming up through. So if you do want to do any clearing work, I can send you the updated clearing, and you can do it for as many days as you want. I mean, obviously stop after 21 because that's the cutoff, but you don't have to do it, basically.
Okay.
Is what it boils down to. So if you don't want to, you don't have to. These are already cleared, but if you would like to, for whatever reason, you sure can. And then I'll just include basically clearing of the negative thought form, where we would normally have like a negative soulmate contract in the intention.
Okay.
So do you want to do clearing, or are you okay with this as it is?
I think I'm okay with it as it is, because I feel like I would be perpetuating the energy around the thought form if I was to activate that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So I put down a note to if I'm going to send it or not. So I just crossed that out. We don't need to send it. Okay, good. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense too, right? Because if you're focusing, again, even if you're focusing positively on clearing, you're still giving energy to the fact that that thought existed, but it doesn't anymore. So you don't really have to worry about it. That's
right.
the
So I'm not going to anger it at all.
yeah, exactly. You don't need to, and you're not, because that's why they're here, so that they're no longer being fed. So good. That makes a lot of sense. Perfect.
I love it.
So that's it for the Soul Realignment Akashic checkup information. That was everything that came through for that. Not too much. Now, did you want to check in and just see? I don't know how long it's going to be, or how long. You know what? Let's just do it, and we'll just see what happens. Because it could be quick. I don't know. So let's.
Yeah, I'm down for whatever.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ground myself. Oh, I just released a little bit there. Okay, good. So I'm just gonna ground myself down. And just open myself up to the light. There we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to connect energetically with you, and that will be sort of the gateway that opens the connection to these others that are connected energetically to you. So I'm just going to connect to you first. Okay, so first thing that I feel when I connect to you energetically is it's almost like a little bit top heavy. So this could either be an indication that there's a need for additional grounding, especially since you're clearing thought forms, which are in the mental space, which are usually up here. Or this could be additional energy coming in through the crown, through the top of the head, that feels kind of almost like heavy, like a bobblehead, wanting to kind of lean forward like that is what I felt initially. So let me just kind of figure that out first, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, and it keeps wanting to lean to the right hand side, specifically, not just front, but a little bit to the right. Yeah, it just keeps wanting to do that. It keeps pulling my head like this, like this. So right side is the male, the masculine polarity. So this is action, logic, rationale, protection, all of those aspects. And yeah, it does feel like it just needs to be grounded down. It just needs to be anchored, not the thoughts themselves. Obviously, you're working on clearing those, or you have cleared those, but more so just the whole self, or the thought, the mental body, anchoring that as well. So anchoring the mental body into the physical, because I think that sometimes the mental body can just kind of float around up here. And it's kind of hard it's easy for us to anchor the body, especially if we're feeling unsafe. That's the first thing we need to do, is anchor the body. But anchoring the mental body can be a different thing, right? Because we're not, by anchoring the physical body, we can also anchor the mental body. Sometimes that'll just happen as a byproduct, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we need to anchor that mental body by being consciously aware of what's going on in there, and or like kind of leaning back and just accepting that this is kind of what's happening at the moment. So I'm not really too sure how that kind of relates, but that was the first thing. So, oh, I see. Okay. So yeah, so to connect, as soon as I asked, basically by saying, I'm not sure, ask and ye shall receive. I saw that anchoring these mental aspects down into the physical, and anchoring them down into kind of like the more physical third dimensional realm, what's going to happen is it's going to free up space to be able to connect outward. So the crown chakra, right? Because this is your connection to everything, to the higher self, the spirit, the universe, the other aspects of these of self as well. So the other higher selves of others. So being able to anchor and clear that mental body will open up space for that awareness to come in at a cognitive level. So not just intuitively, not just physically, not just like with your senses, but actually with thought. So oh, what is your soul type? Sixth, yeah. Soul type, divine truth. Yeah, divine truth. So that's third eye. That's very mental body oriented as well. So that makes sense. So what I'm basically seeing here is that there's kind of like I guess activation would be the best word for it. And there's an activation that you're going through, and anchoring that into the physical through your action is actually going to be the most helpful. So receiving it is kind of, it's like you've already done that. And now that's why it keeps pulling to the right, is because it's anchoring it into the physical in a practical way. So how can you kind of take action on anchoring the mind into the 3D realm in a positive way, right? Well, we think, we don't want to have the mind in the 3D one. We want to have it be 5D or 4D. The mind is already 4D, because the fourth dimensional realm is the realm of thought. So the mind is already 4D. The mind can be connected to 5D, which is the unity consciousness and the awareness of all things being united as one. So 4D is polarity, and then 5D is all of it there together. The third dimensional realm is the physical realm of action, and being able to move in space and time and create. So that's basically what I'm seeing here, is that this activation of the third eye, which is your primary energy at the soul level, is activating that action-oriented aspect that's going to help you to ground and anchor your thoughts into the physical. So that can be basically like you think something and then you do it.
Yeah.
That's basically how it's anchored, is you think it and then you do it. And just being very aware if those thoughts are kind of spiraling or circling, or all over the place. How can you think and then do? Because that's going to basically zap the mind body connection and get them back into alignment. Because when we think and then don't do, it becomes the connection becomes chaotic. The connection becomes out of alignment, basically. And it's harder to then get from think to do, because you're weeding through all of these thoughts. So basically that's what I'm seeing. Now, how does this relate to the higher selves of the others that we're trying to connect to? Basically, they're helping to activate this within you, is what it feels like. But this is something that you've chosen at soul level, because it's part of who you are at soul, your soul type, right? So this is part of anchoring. Oh, and you know what? Your secondary was the gift of divine manifestation. Yeah. So literally the physical aspect. Okay, so this is making more sense now. I always forget. That's why I have to write everything down, because my brain's like a sieve. So the mind and the body uniting through action to manifest, create, and build. That's basically what your soul type is. And that's what this individual, your aunt, I feel like, has activated in you. And it's not that she's activated it, it's that she's a catalyst for you to activate it within you. So yeah, so let's connect then. Because now that we've got that figured out, I want to try and connect to her energetically. So let's call forward. What's her name?
Terry.
Carrie. So let's call forward Carrie's higher self.
No, T.
Oh,
Terry.
Terry. Terry. Let's call forward Terry's higher self and see if she'd like to be with us today. Okay. Nope. I got a nope. So she's not. But then as I was kind of going, oh, okay, then I see something coming forward, and I'm like, well, you just said no. So is that you? And then I heard emissary. So she's sending an emissary in her place. Okay. So who is this person? Okay. So yeah, her higher self is busy right now, and I've actually never experienced that before, but she does a lot of work in the higher realms.
Yeah, she's got like 8 to 10 clients a day, and she's probably in a Reiki session right now.
Okay, so that's why. So her higher self is literally busy right now.
Yeah.
And that's why she's like, no, I can't right now, but here's an emissary. Here's somebody else that you can talk to.
Here's like, my representative.
Yeah, it's like I'm in a meeting right now, but my receptionist will be with you.
That's great.
It's hilarious. That's something I've never experienced before, but that makes so much sense now that I'm realizing. Okay, yeah. So for same. So like, if for somebody who works in the higher realms, their higher self is busy a lot, so that makes sense.
Totally.
Okay, so let's talk to this emissary then. So they've come forward. They've got a beautiful sort of like white, almost like a toga or a gown on. Yeah, it has a very sort of angelic quality to it, but this individual, this being is not an angel. I can tell that right away just by the vibration. They're yeah, and they're not human currently. It feels like they were human. Okay, so yeah, they've kind of graduated from the program is what I just heard. So this is a guide then. Yeah, so this is a human guide. So you can have guides that are from elsewhere as well, but this is a human guide, one of her guides. And she sent this individual to come to talk to us. Okay. And yeah, they're coming with love, so I can feel the heart center activating. They're for some reason wanting me to describe the appearance, which I don't normally do, because normally when I'm seeing somebody at soul level or in that energetic form, it's less about like the details. Like I can see kind of like the shape or the general theme, but it's almost like I'm kind of looking at them like this. Like I can't really see exactly, but for some reason they're wanting me to describe the details of the face. And so I can see it's like this sort of shaggy, lightish brown, almost goldenish hair. So you like chestnut brown, but with like a golden sort of undertone to it. And it's kind of like, it's short, but it's got that like little bit of a wave to it. It's a man, a young man is what I would say, probably in his like, it's hard to say because I can't gauge age with somebody who's not physically incarnated, because they look like their face looks like 20, but their soul feels older, like in their 40s. So
Yeah.
hard to say, but I would say, yeah, like middle, like 30, middle between 20 and 30.
Okay.
They got brown eyes. Nose a little bit sloped, fairly defined jawline. It's funny that they're showing me like wrinkles on the forehead, but before when I looked, there was nothing there. It was like they had like baby skin, and now they're showing me, no, look, there's wrinkles here. That's interesting. But that's more of the human self coming forward then. Okay, so it's not actually it's almost like there's the spirit self, and then they're bringing forward aspects of the human self and kind of overlaying. So I'm getting like a little bit of both, like it's a holographic filter.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else there that he wants to show us? Smoking. His human self smoked. He doesn't obviously anymore as a being. Interesting. So yeah, he feels young and older at the same time, which is kind of that's what he's been showing me. It's like he's young, but he's also older. So that's interesting. Is this someone that Savannah knew? No. Okay, so then why are we being shown these details? I just heard you'll recognize it later.
Okay.
So I don't know how that's going to play out, but just maybe keep that in your back pocket.
Yeah, for sure.
Let that percolate. Yeah, but he keeps going over the traits again. So chestnut, sort of golden hair, short but wavy, kind of like a shaggy, like, I don't know, yeah, like a shaggy sort of, but like put together hairstyle, soft brows, piercing brown eyes, with like a little bit of hazel to them. So they might be a little more gold than brown, but in certain light. Defined jawline, wrinkles on the forehead, but feels young. And he smokes. Yeah. So yeah, so this could be somebody that you meet, or maybe it's somebody in the lineage maybe it's somebody who's connected to your aunt.
Okay.
But no, because, well, I don't know if it's necessarily somebody that you'll meet, because this person has already, they're not on the earth anymore. This individual, this emissary, they're not on the earth anymore because they've become a spirit guide. And you can't be both. So,
but maybe being around her, I might tap in or see at a later date, and
Mm.
that could be a recognition.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And your primary energy is divine truth, was just clairvoyant. So being able to see clairvoyantly. So maybe it's not something you'll see physically. Maybe it's something you'll
Yeah,
see. I
I
don't know.
see
So
so much. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I don't just they keep going over the features, which is something that they never really show me. So that's something that I know is specific
Okay.
and intentional, because they don't
Yeah.
show anything that's not intentional. So for whatever reason, just keep that in the back of your mind.
Locked. Got it.
Locked and loaded. So
Yeah.
so what is he bringing forward here? So this often happens when I'm talking to spirit, or spirit guides in this form. It's almost like I have to play this game of charades where I can't hear what it is that they're saying because they don't use words. If I do pick up on a word, it's because they've sent the energy to me, and my brain is interpreting that as a word, and then that's what pops up.
Got
But
it.
what they usually do is they'll just signal with their hands, kind of like we're doing charades. So what he's doing is he's doing like this, and then like this, like he's touching the heart chakra. So this is the energy of relationships. The heart chakra is our relationship with ourselves, and therefore our relationship with others. So this is the type of relationship that you have with your aunt is something that's activating an awareness within you. So I think that's what he means by that.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So the recognition of love that you have with her is actually a recognition of love that you have for self, because she is you.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah.
We're all one at that higher level. So that when we see someone that we love more than love, it's more of a direct line to our source self, because that's how we feel about us.
Got it.
Every version of us.
That makes sense.
So she's activating that within you because you love. And that's a direct reflection of your source self. And that's activating your divine gifts. So the closer you get to your source self, the more you unlock those higher level gifts, because that's who you are.
Got it.
So the more you step into your own presence, the more you have yourself back, basically. You become more yourself.
And she's basically like being the inspiration in sparking that activation within me, basically.
Yeah, she's an activator, a catalyst, a muse, if you will. Mm-hmm. Because the creativity is within you, the creative expression is within you, but that inspiration, as you say, exactly, she's the muse of that. So she reawakens that within you, she inspires that within you, and you are able then to connect back with what was already there, but she's just a catalyst for that, right? So if the heat's underneath the water, it's going to boil eventually, but if you add salt, it'll happen faster. It's that kind of a thing. So you were already on this track, and she just comes in to kind of help things along.
Got it.
Basically, yeah. So yeah, and that's what she does for work, is what I heard as well. So yeah, it's because she does Reiki, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So she does do that for work, but at a higher level, at soul level, she does this for work. So it's kind of like that's what her soul does. She's an activator. She goes around and she mirrors to people, and she activates energetically within them their ability to connect to themselves and their true power.
Yeah, that was when I remember, because I went back on my notes when I was talking to her about you in the last or the first reading or whenever it was, and I had told her about my one of my primaries being the divine truth. And she said she had that in hers as well. That was one of her main.
One of your aunt's main ones?
Yes, that was her main one, was the divine truth. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
remember what her other one was, but that was her main one.
That makes sense. It's my secondary too, so it's so funny.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
So we've all got it there. That makes sense, because yeah, that's basically what we're all doing here is mirroring back to each other the aspects of self and activating within those parts of ourself who we really are. And coming back
Yes.
into
Oh my God.
embodiment of them. Yeah.
Yes.
So let me just see if there's anything else from this emissary. He's like, nope, you've got it. I will say farewell. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. He seems really, really lighthearted, that emissary. He's a happy person. So
Good.
anyway, yeah, so that's beautiful. So he works with her as well. So they and spirit guides we're like a team effort. We're just on the ground, and they're on the other side. So they learn from us, we learn from them, we work together. And yeah, he's part of her team. So I don't know if she'll know about him or if she works with him directly. If maybe you can ask her. I don't know if she'd even have that conscious awareness, but try describing him. I don't know if maybe that's somebody that she knew, because sometimes that can happen. Spirit guides can be people that we've known who have crossed over, and then they become sort of, supporters for us, or they can be people who we've known in past lives. They can be people that we've known in other realms as well, like different, like starseed. But this one, he just showed himself as a human, so I don't know. But yeah, he was wearing that beautiful white robe, very sort of like ancient Greece, Rome, that kind of thing. Very angelic. So anyway, yeah, that's interesting.
I love that. I love that so much.
That's really cool. And yeah, I learned some new things today too. So again, which is why I love doing what I do, because I never know what's going to come forward. And I'm like, oh,
yes, I love it so much.
That's funny. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I think, yeah, you're already doing what you need to be doing. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. So grateful. I mean, I kind of already had an idea. I just, again, there's the doubt there. So I'm just flowing back and forth.
Yeah, and that's okay, right? Because that came up today to be recognized, which means that you are neutralizing it slowly but surely. And maybe it's not 100% neutralized. That doubt might still creep back in. That's okay too, because you can always come back into that state of knowing from within yourself. You can always approach that doubt with understanding. And through that understanding and that compassion, you create security for that doubt, which then neutralizes it, because the doubt is only there because it feels insecure. It doesn't feel stable. It doesn't feel sure. It doesn't have that safety. So by you creating safety and a safe space for it, neutralizes it.
Yeah. So and I've been telling myself more recently than not, I've been telling other people and putting it to practice within myself, like whenever you are in that awareness and that observatory mode, and you can finally see the pattern or see, yourself in it, that's, you've already went over half the mark, just seeing yourself. Now you can see it to pull yourself out of it. Whereas before, you didn't even know where you were. So at least now you're a little bit further along than where you were before.
Yeah.
And that's where I go back and kind of reinforce and neutralize the energy within myself when these things do come up. It's like, I know I see it, and there's sometimes I continue to dip, but then there's other times that I'm like, well, at least I know, at least I can see it. And if I can't do anything about it right now, I'm just going to be with it.
Yeah.
And let it ride.
Yeah. So then, okay, as you were saying that to me, they were reiterating the think it, then do it.
Yes.
So as you were kind of walking through that thought process, they were thinking, or they were saying, okay, the next step now is that awareness is, like you said, that's the most crucial step, because if you don't have that awareness, you can't move from there.
Right.
So you've gotten over that hump of gaining that awareness and having that objectivity and that understanding. And now it's like think it and then do it. So it's putting it into actual embodied practice, which is what you have been doing already. So it's not like you're starting from scratch here. You've already been doing this. It's just now it's like for the purpose and the direct intention of neutralizing that doubt and neutralizing any of those other things that arise for you that hold charge still, that are out of alignment. So anytime that something comes up, it's like, okay, what do I need to do physically? And that could be actually just moving your body. It could be processing that way. It could be something more like creating something or doing something physically, building something, sharing something, connecting in some way. So feel into it and then put that thought into practice, put that thought into action. And that's basically what they're saying, because that's going to anchor and merge those two parts of yourself, because you've got the mental aspect and you've got the physical aspect, and those two can work really, really well together when they're harmonized. So,
Which and then will in turn bring about the divine manifestations.
yeah, exactly. Because when you think something and you back it up with action, it manifests a lot quicker because you're putting physical energy into it as well as mental energy. So you're taking these two streams of manifestation, vital force energy, merging them into one. It's like they just show, it's so funny in my head, the two streams merging. I just saw Ghostbusters, they're like, don't cross the streams. And then they cross the streams and they catch like the big one. So it's that kind of thing. Like when you merge that energy together, it becomes exponentially more powerful. And then you can use that to whatever you'd like to create for intention wise,
Totally.
what feels aligned. So, and you're aware of what feels aligned and what doesn't. So you can trust yourself to know and to discern what you'd like to put that energy towards. So again, this is also a practice that will neutralize more of that doubt, because you're creating confidence as you physically move and build and grow, because you start to see the product of your work instead of just having a conceptual understanding of it. You start to actually be able to see, I did this and this feels right. And this is empowering to me, and those kinds of things. And that builds confidence and self-assurance. And then you continue to do more. So it's, again, that snowball effect.
Ugh, I love it.
Me
I love
too.
it.
I love it. I love it.
So much. I'm so grateful. And just let me know. I know we went a little over, so just let me know how much to send, and we can or do you need some more spray? I can send you some more
I
spray.
do need some more spray. Actually,
Okay.
I do need some more spray, and I still have some of the custom one that you made me. I've still got about half of that one left.
Okay.
I try to use, I don't need as much of this one because it's powerful, it's strong. This one I used up like really quickly.
So I actually have what I'm
Florida.
going to do, because that's a 2 ounce, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a 4 ounce and I have a 16 ounce. I'm going to send you the 16 ounce because the 16 ounce equals out about right at $60.
Okay.
It's like 55. And then after like the shipping and stuff, it would be right
is
about like I know it's ridiculous.
It's
But
ridiculous.
it'd be, I think, like right out by like the 77-ish price. So that's why I was thinking, like, if it was 30 minutes for 77 initially, and then we went over about 30 minutes, I was like, let me go ahead. I'll probably throw a stone in there for you, do the 16 ounce and ship it off. And I was like, we can call it even.
I love that. And it's funny
Okay.
because the aspect of me that doesn't want to, like, I still struggle with like self-worth stuff too, in terms of my business and like charging and things like that. And so there was a part of me that was like, no, like she doesn't need it. No, I enjoyed this, like it's fine. And then there was the little side, the thing that said, hey, you need to value yourself too, And I was like, oh
That's
shit,
right.
okay.
I
And then
know.
when you
That's
said
why
that, I was like, okay, yes.
I was like, no, there's more that has to come out of this. Plus, it it helps. It not only helps you, but it helps me too because I'm so grateful when you do share my stuff.
And I
So
love because I won't share anything that I don't genuinely use or love, right? And I'm not doing it because you're paying me to do it. I'm doing it because I genuinely love your stuff and
no,
I'm
but I'm so
constantly
glad
using
because
it.
like I like obviously didn't need, but like I desired the connection. And so it's funny, like with you, I knew I was going to be hitting you up soon, but when you made that post, I was like, oh, I'm so glad she came into my field because I so need to book an appointment with her.
So
Which
I
is
need to,
true, and it
yes.
all worked out. It
And
was
that
great.
helps me too, because it makes me more aware of, okay, so if I'm hiding behind the scenes, people don't get that I don't enter into their field. And maybe I do, maybe I pop up in their mind from time to time, but if I'm actually there, that's confirmation. It's like, okay, well, it's time. And I
Totally.
think that I've been kind of like hiding away for the past kind of a couple months now. So
I hear that.
it just gets overwhelming sometimes doing this kind of work
Totally.
and working with so many people energetically and being so open as I am. I'm constantly having to learn to instill better boundaries energetically, and not specifically with clients. I think I've nailed that down pretty solid, but in terms of
Same.
social media and things like that.
Mm,
So for
yeah.
me, that's kind of the issue right now is how do I get kind of rework how I approach social media, and do I need to switch off of it? Maybe no more Instagram, maybe just do more YouTube, or maybe just do like an email list and focus on that. So yeah, anyway, that's the rambling
I've
now, but
thought about that. No, I've thought about that myself, honestly, just in the perspective of like, how do I want to show up, and
mm,
like how do I want to enjoy showing up, because
enjoy
sometimes like
showing up. Yeah.
I really enjoy doing like the weeklies for like the elements,
Mm,
but
mhm.
I don't want to feel like I have to. And I think sometimes I do have that energetic boundary of like feeling the pull of people wanting or needing it. But like
Mhm.
I want to be able to just show up and when I enjoy it, and not feel like it's an obligation
Yeah.
or I've got to do this because people need me, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That obligation kind of kills the creative spark. And
Totally.
it's like
That's why
at that
I
point,
really try to go and move from that intuitive space of like, all right, if I'm feeling it, I'm going to hop on a live, or if I'm
mhm.
feeling it, I'm going to pull a card for the collective today. But I never want to like, it's almost like I'm in this place now where I don't really want to fully commit to like
Yeah,
future
same.
plans, because I just that pulls me out of the present and I want to stay as present as I possibly can. And so that's where I'm learning how to navigate riding that wave and then adjusting my boundaries along the way, especially with people. And like you said, with clients, I think I've gotten the hang of it, and holding space for them while also holding space for myself, and redirecting them if they keep trying to attach as like guru status to me.
Mm,
I'm like,
mhm.
no, like, even if it's just somebody being like, what does this mean? I'm like, well, how about you look up the spiritual meaning of da da da
Mhm.
da and see where that takes you. Like putting the responsibility and empowerment back on themselves to really take that back into their own hands, because that's the biggest thing, is I want to be able to continue to empower people and allow people to see themselves and not be so attached or dependent on these outside things, because everything that you have is within you. And the more that we can bring it back to that awareness and just being in our being, it
Yeah,
helps so much to get, for one, more comfortable, but to also to get more into a state of flow within
yes,
yourself and within everything around you.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So
I couldn't have said it better myself. And that's, I think we very much understand each other in that way.
it's
I
almost like
love that.
unspoken, like we really didn't have to say anything,
Yeah,
but
because I totally get it. I very much understand, and I'm right there too. So,
and
yep.
I'm so grateful for that, because that is definitely one thing that I honestly just got done telling you, is don't really feel like there's a lot of people that I have that understand me on that perspective level. So thank you. Grateful for you.
Me too. And you know what? Me too, because I've experienced that as well. I don't have a lot of people in my physical life that really get or understand at that deeper level kind of what, I mean, other than, you know, most of my clients, sometimes not even all of them, but most of them will understand to that degree if I'm not, having to kind of walk them through it in that way. But I feel like you're more than just a client to me.
Same. Yes, I totally feel that. Like soul family somewhere, shape, or form.
Mhm.
It's
And and
there.
and it's not that it's just a client, because every client has a unique connection at soul level to, because otherwise they wouldn't resonate energetically with me. But I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like your soul family.
Sometimes the depth is just there. It's
It's
just,
different. Yeah, you can tell that,
yeah.
okay, this is more, there's more of a
Like we
connection there
like
for
we
whatever
had to
reason.
work together at like some point in another lifetime. We had to
Oh
have
yeah.
been in the same tribe or
Well,
something.
where were you? Where was your origin? Oh yeah, you had Pleiadian. Yeah, okay, so that makes
And then
sense.
Hadar.
And then Hadarian, yeah. So because I spent a lot of time in the Pleiades. I'm not from there initially, but that's my underlay is Pleiades. So
And my aunt's primary is Pleiadian, and so is my husband. And then her husband is actually Syrian.
oh, see, that's mine. I'm Syrian. And
Oh, see, that's cool.
yeah, so I'm like a old Syrian race. And there's multiple different planets there. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
um, that's the origin initially, and then spent a lot of time everywhere because I'm a wanderer. But I spent a lot of time recently in the Pleiades, and that so I have a lot of connections of like spirit guides. I have two spirit guides that are Pleiadian. I have a lot of connections through my family and friends, and connections like that are Pleiadian as well. So I work a lot with the Pleiadians, and it's so funny because that was one of the first things that came through for me from the Akashic records. Before I learned to do soul realignment, I was just um, basically learning to connect energetically. And the first thing that came through was that I was connected to the Pleiadians in some way. And so I went and did some research and looked into what that meant, because I didn't even know at that time, like, what are star seeds? Wow. And then I was called to a lady in Sedona who does soul stream work, as she calls it. So she goes into the soul stream and then she gives information to you based on what she sees. And she was like, yeah, you work a lot with the Pleiadians. That's not your origin, but you have a big connection with the Pleiadians. You are what's the word? It's like we're a team. We work together. I can't remember the word for it, but anyway, she's like, yeah, I've got lots of different connections with the Pleiadians. And then when I did my Akashic soul realignment session for myself, when I was first learning, it was like Syrian with Pleiadian underlay. So
That is so cool.
makes sense.
That is so freaking cool. Yeah, and I have been so connected with a lot of um just like on the just in the I guess spiritual community, a
Mm,
lot of people either Pleiadian, Syrian, or Andromedan.
Andromedan. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
I know a
actually had
few,
an
but
Andromedan come to me in a session. And it was really interesting because she was like a liaison for the
mm,
Andromedans. It was like I guess a liaison for her people or her community where she was at. But it was really interesting because the way like she didn't, I mean, obviously she telepathically connected with me, but there was this like she showed me and she was like how she looked. And it was really interesting because she was this blue, fascinating blue color. And I couldn't even like it was prettier than sapphire,
mm.
but she had freckles. And it was interesting. Like she showed me these characteristics of her face and like her hair and how it kind of like, um, do you remember on Oh, what is the Fifth Element, where that lady with the blue hair, how it was slicked back, like
Yep.
and it had that's what her hair looked like. It was incredible. And then it was like, it felt like minutes, but it was probably just like a seconds in the flashing of it. But her eyes were what was so captivating, because it was literally like I just saw her from like the chest up. And that was the only information that I received from her, and that she was the liaison, but she was part of my team of guides. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, interesting to know. And that was actually when I was going through a releasement of some like repressed sexual energy that I had within my, like, I don't know if it was from, I couldn't remember if she said it was from past life or from this life. It was like I had this like ingrained memory of being raped or violated. And so it was like I was holding it. And so when I released it, it literally felt like an icy hot waterfall
Mm,
coming out of my
yeah.
freaking vagina, going all the way down and out of my feet. And that was the session that she was in. So it was just
Wow.
really interesting to go through that experience, and then to see her. And yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just been really interesting to kind of navigate this whole process and understand and learn that there's so much depth to it, and there's so
Yeah.
many potentialities and experiences that we have endured and experienced in this lifetime and lifetimes before. So to just be able to be at the level of awareness that we can tap in to any of those moments and any of those tools or aspects of ourselves at any point in time, it blows my mind. And I'm still like amazed by it, but
Me
so
too.
grateful.
Every day. It's sometimes, it's like mind boggling to try and kind of wrap your head around how does this all connect and how does this all work? And I want to know the mechanisms and I want to understand. But it's like, no, you don't need to know it all, because you've got the whole picture as your source self. You're
Yeah,
feeding yourself these little puzzle pieces and putting them back together for the purpose of going through that process. It's not about knowing it all. You already know it all. That's not the
totally.
point. And so it's like, anyway, yeah. But yeah, that's fascinating because when I see the Andromedans, they're all different, because I think that because Andromeda is so big, it's an entire galaxy. It's like, well, where do they come from? Because when we think
Yeah,
Andromeda, and we think like one specific planet, but it's not. It's the whole galaxy. So
yeah,
it's like, how many of them are there, and how are they different, and all those things. And I've seen a bunch of different races from different places even within our galaxy. So I'm seeing different races from Arcturus and different races from Sirius, and Pleiadians are pretty much the same, but there's some variation that I've seen there too. And it's just interesting because it's like there's so much more than I even thought initially going into this. I was like, yeah, there's one and like that's it. But no, when you think about it, like when you think about earthlings, that could apply to people. It could apply to different races of people. It could apply to animals. It could apply to anything. Trees, like we're all
totally.
earthlings. So it's just
Totally. And it's so interesting how they have um it's like such a beautiful mixture of like humanistic features, but
yeah,
they still have their
humanoid.
own like identity and their own characteristics about them that blend beautifully into it. So it's amazing to see, because I've seen aquatic beings too who
Yeah.
have humanistic features. And then I've seen them where it's like totally like the other side of the spectrum, where it is more, I don't like to use the word alien, but like
Mhm, mhm.
alienistic type features.
Yeah.
So it's really like the elongated skulls and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting to see so much of the vastness of this universe and just this one little perspective of my
I
body.
know, and it's like, and we're still interpreting all of this through our human mind. So we're like,
Totally, and that's the other
what?
part, because we can't really even comprehend it fully at the level that we truly can, because we are in this human form. So I think it's wonderful to be able to connect with like-minded people who are at that level of comprehension and awareness and understanding, that we can kind of talk and bounce these ideas off of each other to really get a clear understanding, or just another perspective in the vastness of information.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because just briefly, you brought up the elongated heads. What have you seen with that?
So I've seen like different ones where I don't know. I feel like it was more of like the Syrian type of energy, but they come in like robes, like with little collars. Like it's interesting. Like I've seen um they're more of like whiter beings. It's like
Yeah.
very, it's so, you know what I mean? Like it's not like a gray sheen. It's almost like a silver
Yeah.
sheen,
Mhm.
and kind of like a haze.
Yeah.
So like their aura is a little bit brighter, if you will, than some of the other ones that I've seen. But they carry such a more lighthearted, playful energy, to a certain extent. And then, but like when you look at them initially, you don't, unless you tap into it, if you were to like just look at
Just
them,
look
you
at
would
it.
think like they seem so serious, right? But then like you feel into the energy and they're like, oh, they're like totally cool.
That was the first kind of, or one of the major iterations of me, was that. And it was funny because I saw that exactly what you've just described, myself as that. And I was going around and I was a wanderer. Like they didn't show me on the planet itself. I was already off in a ship and I was just going through time and space. And that was what I liked to do. So that was what I did. But that was exactly what I saw, was the elongated kind of conical shaped head, very sort of whitish, almost silvery gray skin, sort of the eyes. And then I had like it was like a suit or robe. I only really saw it from here up. So it kind of looked almost like, but very much like what you described. And so I just wanted to see, because that was the first time I had ever seen anything like that. And I didn't know
Yeah.
where this version of me had come from. And I asked, and they said, Sirius. And I went, oh, okay.
That is freaking amazing. And then that just clarifies even further for me that I was not just making the shit up. You know?
No, you're not. And that clarifies for me the same thing, because I saw this
Um,
in a quantum healing hypnosis therapy session, and I've never seen that version of a Syrian before. So I was like, I don't
Me
think that is
neither.
a Syrian. But I was seeing it so clearly. And I'm like, okay, so like, who is this? What is this? And it was me, and it was a Syrian, but it was an ancient Syrian race, was what I was shown, is that there was other different iterations of Syrians over
Yeah.
the years, because the other ones that I've been shown were more, um, now it could be different because they were on planet and the sun kind of shifted the color of their skin, but they looked more sort of greenish gray to me than like whitish gray.
And a little
And
bit shorter, maybe.
yeah, they were shorter. They didn't have so much of the elongated head. It was more like upwards instead of back like that, or
Yeah.
whatever. And they were dressed, they didn't have like the same outfit on, they looked different, and they were doing things differently. They were working together as a unit. They were working to like heal the land and stuff, whereas my race was more like,
Lone
maybe I was just the
Rangers.
explorer, but like, yeah, I was kind of like a lone ranger. I was just like, I'm just going to go out and do my thing. And that was, it wasn't so much about the group. But then there was all those other Syrian aquatic races and things like that that came along. So I think that it's basically like, if we're looking at it through time, that would, the initial one would be the ancient one that kind of, then all of these other
It
iterations
was like
came
it's
about.
like the elders, what I'm hearing.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I felt from it too, but I didn't
Yeah.
associate that word with it. But yeah, that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
the elder
it
Syrians.
yeah, it does. It seems like it's the elder, it's the more, I don't want to say the more evolved, but
Mm,
definitely on a different like playing field level,
yeah, because
with experiences.
the Syrians that I saw that were on planet were more like, they were very telepathic and very energetically aware, and they had many different abilities, but they didn't focus so much on like the higher consciousness aspects. They were more like, what can we do to improve our situation here and now?
Yeah, it was
Whereas,
like a group focus.
yeah, and then the elder Syrian race, it was like we're going to go out and explore the consciousness of the cosmos and the experience of source self through this physical being. And I manifested a ship as like almost like, you know, like an energetic Merkaba type of device to be able to transmit through the cosmos and to be able to
Wow.
travel in all of these different places. And that was what I was shown in the session, was that and the reason I was shown that was because it was connecting to the fact that, you know, I like to explore and experience and learn. My primary energy is divine communication, which is all about learning and then sharing. So I liked to explore. So that's what I did, is I just went off on my own.
And that makes me think of I don't know if you've read this book, and if you haven't, it's a great book. It's The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. Have you read that book?
No.
Oh my God. So the reason why I'm bringing it up is because he literally is communicating to his sister, and like after he passes, and he's having these conversations, but throughout the times that he's having these conversations, his soul is like going through these transitionary processes on the other side. And then he's like describing to her what he's seeing and what he's going through. And it's so interesting because at one point he gets to a level of consciousness or awareness to where he's literally describing what it's like being like his whole infinite self experiencing the cosmos at like beyond what we're capable of our human mind like comprehending. But then like he even goes further than that to talk about like where when he goes into the birthing of the cosmos, it's like that's another dimension in and of itself. And so he like takes her through these different dimensions, and he gives such good descriptions of like what he's experiencing in these realms. And the way that you were describing and like going on these ships and stuff, and like a lot of what he's talking about, it's such a insightful experience that he's sharing with her, and that they came together to write this book. And so it's just a really good book. I couldn't like, you'd have to read it in order to like get the fullness of it.
What
But
is
I
it
think,
called again?
hold on, it's called The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. And this is what the cover looks like.
Okay.
And it's literally he's got, okay, it's just a back thing really. It says a few weeks after his death, William Cohen, aka Billy Fingers, woke up his sister Annie at dawn. I'm drifting weightlessly through these glorious stars and galaxies, and I feel a divine presence, a kind, loving, beneficent presence twinkling all around me. So it says Billy's ongoing after death communications take his sister on an unprecedented journey into the bliss and wonder of life beyond death.
Wow.
Billy's profound and detailed descriptions of the mystical realms he traverses, the beings of light that await him, and the wisdom he receives takes the reader beyond the near-death experience. Billy is indeed, as Dr. Raymond Moody points out in his foreword, explaining the phenomena we've known about since ancient times, an afterworld walker.
Wow. I need
Yeah,
to read this book.
it's so intense. And like when you were talking about the ships and stuff, it popped into my mind. I was like, I need to tell her about that.
Yeah, because that was kind of what I saw. And it was like it wasn't even so much like it was like a see-through like energy vessel, and it wasn't like a ship, like a mothership or anything. Like it was just like one like thing, and it was just around, and I could go through time and space. So I could travel through galaxies, but I could also go to different points in time or different dimensions. And it was like all of these, you could literally just travel to any point in existence ever. And it was
Okay.
super intense.
And that's when he was trying to communicate with her, and how he was like, I'm in another realm right now, so it's really hard for me to, because he transcended past like the ego and all of that. So he was like, to bring a stream of consciousness together, because I am all of it.
Yeah.
It was harder, but he's
Harder.
like, but I'm doing it for you. So it like would take her longer when he was further away, and he accelerated higher into these higher dimensions, for her to, translate and come up with it. So it would take her longer sometimes, and his voice would be different and distorted, so she would really have to listen. But it goes through that whole process and of explanation, and it was such a beautiful insight to understand at the level of awareness and consciousness that he was in and what he traveled through, and then brought that information back to us. Like, it really has activated, because I just finished that book like a week ago,
Oh,
and it
wow.
has really activated and helped me to understand even deeper the level of awareness and consciousness that I am stepping into,
Yeah.
and helping me to neutralize a lot of this stuff, because it's really taken the attachments out of it when I'm seeing all this other vastness of what the universe is. It's like, what is this earth realm? Like, it's
Right.
like all of this. Why am I worried about the cat down the road? Like,
Yeah, it doesn't even matter really at the end of the
no,
day.
it doesn't. And that's why I'm just like, I'm so grateful for the information. So yeah, I wanted to share that with
Thank
you.
you. I
And
need to
I'm
read that
so,
book.
so
I'm
grateful.
very intrigued. I'm very
Yes,
intrigued.
it's so good. And it didn't take me, but like, I mean, I sat down like and went hardcore in it. So I finished it in like 3 or 4 days, but
Yeah,
it's really, it sucks you in, and you just want to keep going. And it's little short chapters too. So that's another beautiful thing about
yeah.
it, because you can stop and then come back to it, and it just picks right up where it left off.
Oh,
So
I love it. I'm gonna have to look out for that. I'm gonna actually, what they've told me was set it as an intention for something you'd like to manifest. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna manifest that book. And
I love that.
in one
I
way,
love
shape,
that
or
so
form,
much.
it's gonna show up. It'll just pop
But
up one day on my radar and I'll go, oh yeah, that's the one.
yes. See, and that's what's going to happen, or somebody's going to send it to you or something like that.
Oh, now I see. No, no. Anyway, yeah. So
It's definitely going to happen, and I'm definitely excited, because I really want to, when you get done, you're going to have to tell me your thoughts on it. But I know we went way over. I'm sorry to keep you, but I'm
no,
so
this was
grateful for
fun.
you
This
and your
was fun. I'm really
time.
glad that we got to talk and connect, because it's mutually beneficial, right? We're both benefiting from the confirmation that we're getting, because we both have that ability to see at that higher level that some people don't. And so it's nice
Totally.
to have that kind of confirmed basically for both of us. And
Totally. The validation is
yeah,
so appreciated.
it's important to have that objective kind of confirmation of, okay, that is an actual thing. It's not just something that my imagination created, because
Yes.
yeah, that can
Oh
always
my
be that
gosh,
little
because the
tiny bit
doubt
of doubt.
does. It comes in really quick. Well, send me your address again,
Oh
just
yeah,
so
okay.
because I know I'm sure I have it somewhere way back, but I don't know how far back it is. So just send that to me whenever you get a chance, and I will. My next shipments, if I can get them out Saturday, I will, but I think they'll be on Monday.
Okay.
So
No worries.
I will send that out, and then as soon as that's like out and I get the tracking number, I'll text you the tracking number.
Okay, sweet. Thank you so, so much. I really, really
I'm
appreciate that,
so
because
good. No, I
I've been
appreciate
like,
you.
I keep looking at the bottle. I'm like, oh, I need more. I want more so bad.
Divine manifestations.
And there's the manifestation of it. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will send you the link to this video so that if you want to go back and
Yes.
reference, you can.
Yes.
And I'll also send you my new mailing address, because it's not even the same one as before. I've moved since
Oh,
then.
wonderful.
So
I'm glad I asked.
yeah, so I'll send you a new one, the new one, and then yeah, and that's it. So no homework then, because you don't need it. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Savannah.
Thank you. I'm so grateful. And you have the best day ever. And let me
Me
know
too.
when you get the book and you dive into it. I can't wait to discuss it.
I will. And it's funny that you mentioned book club, and like you're in this book club and you're talking about things like that. And I've been in my back of my mind, like, I want to join a book club. I want to get into like some kind of a way of reading and like sharing and communicating because I love that. And so yeah,
Yes.
even just like this is nice. So yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
yes, yes. We will. And I would love to do that. If you ever want to get together and just like link up and share some thoughts on a book or just share some thoughts, let me know. I'm down for that.
Me too. Me too. Thank you so
Thank
much
you so
for being
much.
here and for being you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
I was
that.
gonna say thank you for being you. So grateful for you.
Me too.
You have
Ah,
the best day and we
you
will talk
too.
soon.
Thank you. All right. We'll talk to you then.
Bye.
Bye.